Hail, hail! Good evening, folks, and welcome along to the Monday night episode of the Endless Podcast. Episode 199. We're getting ever closer to that milestone, 200. But my name is Andrew. I'll be hosting the show tonight. Delighted to be joined by three of the show regulars, Stephen, Ross, and Wally. How are you all tonight, boys?
All good. Can't wait to get stuck in.
Brilliant. Tony jump up and anybody else's before the intro there. That was fucking hilarious.
What was that?
Tony's face jump up before the intro.
No, mine, no.
Oh, belter, man.
I think he's froze. Either that, he's raging me.
Oh, no real. How are you all tonight?
Good, looking forward to getting stuck in.
Am I getting stuck? For the top of the technical difficulties.
You've got about 90 rooms in that house, for fuck's sake. Get there on the Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi stretching.
You're all good.
We're all good. That's good to know. And welcome along, everybody, in the comments as well. Stephen's going to be bringing them all up. Best of the ones as we look back on another good victory for the boys. And to our show sponsors as well, Sharna, modelled brilliantly by Stephen and Wally tonight. Looking the business, boys. Go onto their website, you get a wee discount with our link, and get yourselves kitted out. Good weather and plenty of title parties. Hopefully, are going to be on the way, so you just need to look the part for it, you know. But boys, we'll get stuck right into it. Come to yourself first, Stephen. Obviously, another good win yesterday at Rugby Park. The boys were, we'll obviously discuss the plastic pitches, etc. In a little while. But one of the, there was going to be a bit of a makeshift team, a few different starts, but the end result was the same. We were 4-0 up in 30 minutes. Game was over.
It was the best 30 minutes I'd say we've played all season, and even more so, the changes that were made in the team, you're expecting a wee bit of a drop in terms of form or a drop in intensity, but that was the opposite of actually what happened. I thought the players who came in did fantastically well, and I know we're going to come on to them individually later on in the show, Anthony, but going to Rugby Park, the plastic pitch, all the elements are against it. And on a side note, I thought it was an embarrassment live on TV, and there's 10,000 empty seats because they're being stubborn and not letting Celtic fill 2 or 3 stands and missing out money for themselves. But again, that's not our problem. But the football we played, especially in that first half, was incredible, to be honest. And I just think that to see the team click like that, and I mean, Dan Orowitz, who was on the show recently, always told us that second season we'll see the best of Celtic in the Postecoglou team, and absolutely frightening. And if you can make that many changes within a team, and Anthony, Anthony, you need to get back in that kitchen, mate. You need to come out and go back in that kitchen. It's horrendous.
He doesn't look too happy, does he?
He doesn't look. I'm over the time limit of topic already. No, but it was incredible. I'll take it for now. But yeah, I just thought for myself, and I think everybody watching along will agree. We're in party mode now, Willie, and that's the way it is at the minute. And looking behind you at all the old retro Celtic tops of the wall brings back memories of other title wins. And again, this team's just unstoppable in Scottish football.
Magic, mate. I mean, I totally agree. I think Ange said himself as well that first half hour was as good as we've played all season, and I can't disagree. We were absolutely electric. We were all in the group chat buzzing. I was actually in the group chat saying I already can't wait to talk about the game tomorrow, and we were only about 20 minutes in because the team were frightening. Me and Ross were talking on as most weeks. Me and Ross on Friday were kind of talking, and I was looking. I think Ross was as well to hopefully see a couple of changes, and we got to see some of the guys that haven't been getting as much of a run out, and some very impressive performances. So yeah, another great day at the office. Unfortunately, taking the foot off the gas a wee bit in the second half, but game result was dead and buried by then. It's some magic football. It's just brilliant to be. I said it to the boys. I said it to you all in the group chat Sunday morning, that I was up and buzzing as if it was a derby day, and it's just that's what this team does to me. I can't wait for every game to come around because the football we're playing is electric, and it's just magic to be a Celtic fan at the moment in time.
100%. Lanky 67. I've seen this on Friday and laughed my head off. Good evening, Stephen and the Mitchell brothers. Love it.
No,
We
we're
have to
zig
work.
and zag.
Zig and zag as well. But I'm interested. Who's Phil and who's Grant? Clear that one up for me, Lanky.
But I reckon I'd be Phil.
Because
I'm a bit an alky.
But see, to be fair, I text you in the group chat and I said, Ross, that 30 minutes of that game we were unstoppable, and we used the basically the second half of that game as a training exercise to try different things out, and we're in that position now where, I mean, the changes beforehand, if go back to the St Mirren game, your famous comment, we could go on beaten, that got absolutely shattered the podcast after, but that was because we made changes. We made changes in that game, but it just shows how far the team's come on as a collective unit where you can bring these players in from the cold and they do a job. And as Willie just done, a brief summary of what your thoughts on the game were.
Well, in terms of the changes, I don't think there was just as much changes yesterday as that St Mirren game. Ross is definitely quiet. I mean, I can't argue with that. I'm weird. I drink more. I'm a shite mechanic. There's the man back. Well, I just answer what you asked me, Stephen.
Yeah,
anyway.
just answer and then Alfie could take it.
In terms of I don't think there was just as many changes on Sunday there as that St Mirren game, but like you say, that the team has come so far, and you can afford to make changes now, and it doesn't take away from the team at all. I thought that first half hour, like I think it was yourself said, I've heard you, Ross. Aye, yeah, I'm Monty. That's all I've got to say on that. That first half hour, I think it was you that said, Stephen, absolutely scintillating going forward. Kobayashi, I know we'll probably touch on. I thought he had a good game, but the cohesion of the team and that midfield three, I think me and Wally spoke about it on Friday night. That probably with benefit hindsight should have been the midfield three that started against Rangers. Yeah. And I think we've seen it. You look at it and you think on paper, right, Awata's going to come in and be the six, but they just constantly interchanged. Awata found himself in the number 10. Anthony's having a fucking nightmare tonight. Awata found himself in the 10, he found himself in the 8, and they just kept interchanging, and
That's a full bloopers show, by the way.
This is a disaster, man.
Sorry, Ross, go ahead.
Just talk about the midfield three. It just interchanged the whole, certainly the first half, well, the whole game it did. And I have to say, David Turnbull, obviously he is a good bit away from being in that any of the midfield threes that we go for, but I have to credit him. I thought he came on and in an otherwise sort of bit of a damp squibby a second half. I thought he came on, he got involved in the game, had a few good like balls through, touches. He was really busy, and he had a decent game. And as I say, and what was an otherwise damp squibby a second half, but you can afford to have that damp squib a second half when you do to a team what Celtic done in that first half hour. They absolutely destroyed Kilmarnock, and it no matter what Derek McInnes says, and there was mistakes made by Kilmarnock, but again, Celtic there wasn't littered with mistakes. Celtic took Kilmarnock apart. There was one or two mistakes that Celtic pounced on, like the Kyogo goal, but hell of a lot. We'll probably touch on it. I don't want to step all over Anthony's, if he's even got to be here. I don't think there's another player in the league scores that goal that Kyogo scored. To be quite frank, he senses that the ball's going back. He gets there, running again, like I said about Jota, running at full tilt. There's no another number 9, if you like, in the league. Takes that touch, has then got the pace, and then cuts back inside and scores that goal. Morelos doesn't score it. O doesn't score it. Jolak doesn't score it. Kemar Roof doesn't score it. Only Kyogo scores that goal. So as much as it was an error for the Kilmarnock player, he had other options. He took the wrong option. Still a hell of a lot for Kyogo to do in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, we'll touch upon it in terms of the goals, and obviously over 100 goals now, Willie, in a domestic season, which is absolutely incredible. And Ross touched upon it there, the Japanese superstar that is Kyogo. To be fair, that all started from Alistair Johnson pressing our wing back, and the wing back of Kilmarnock panicked and played a terrible back pass to the defender who was nowhere near it. And Kyogo literally rinsed him for pace. And a lot of people said about the finish that he had time and stuff, but that, for me, that's when you start to kind of, what do you call it, snatch at chances or make the wrong decision, where Kyogo took his time in that situation and picked his spot past Sam Walker and Nets, who had a shocking day for Kilmarnock. But what did you think of that goal? And also, we always spoke about it, Willie, his clinical nature is really coming to the fore.
Absolutely, mate. I've always said that I think when he's got time, he's actually not the best finisher. But he's been tremendous in the last few months. And that, absolutely, Patrick. But that goal, I messaged the guys straight away because I was actually blown away at the angle he came in at, and the defender was coming across. I was just assuming he was going to, and there was nobody following up. There was nobody helping him at this moment either until he turned back. And I was just assuming he was going to take a pot shot at goal and hopefully win us a corner and get everybody up the pitch. But no, not Kyogo. The turn's brilliant, and he could still slip O'Reilly in, but he's only got one thought in his mind, and it's to finish it. I thought it was a brilliant goal, and I agree with Ross. There's no many people in the league. I don't think there's anybody in the league doing that. And it's his tenacity and his this high press and the nature that he's got in him. Nobody else is pouncing on that. You're not seeing a press like that for Kent or Morelos or Nisbet or anybody else in the league. He made the goal was all his own doing. I know, like, obviously Alistair Johnson had a hand, but he had a hell of a lot to do after that. And boy, did he! Oh, Tony's off. And boy, did he do it! He was fabulous finish. Like I say, I was expecting him just to shoot across goal, win a corner, and get the boys up the pitch. No Kyogo.
I love the fact that he took that like long touch type thing past the defender and had the confidence in himself to go round him, get in the box, and then chop back as well. I thought it was a fantastic finish. But before we come on to the other goals by the other players who were involved, Ross, we'll talk about the penalty kick. I mean, Mr. Happy Man, he was smiling. He was smiling after he missed it as well. I think that's the kind of mood he's in. A lot of people I've seen her taking that a bit like as in he's not interested in penalties or he didn't really care that he missed it. But again, I don't think that's the case. I think he obviously wants to score every opportunity he gets. Unfortunately, he missed the penalty kick. And on that subject, who's the penalty kick taker for Celtic? Because at the minute, I'd say in a penalty shootout, 9 times out of 10 we're losing the game, like 100%.
I would have to agree with that because Joe Hart is murder in goals for saving them, and then you just it's no, you don't. I trust Moy when he steps up. I do trust Kyogo, but he missed. Who else? McGregor's missed a lot.
I'd say Kyogo's about 4th or 5th choice. I think Moy's number
after
one.
That.
I think Moy's number 1. I think Jota's 2. I think Hatati's probably 3, and then I think it's just a fight after that.
I would agree with that. Like, definitely. I don't know. It's a good job that we're good enough to basically beat everybody in the league or in cup games. I mean, I'm going to say that, and then it'll go to penalties against Rangers. But we're good enough to take a game away from teams domestically without it going to penalties. That's the hope. But what was the other part of that question? Well, a lot
who should be the main penalty kick taker?
Well, I mean, right now you would have to say, well, he's sort of alluded to it there. You'd be looking at Aaron Moyes probably number 1. But I mean, we'll probably get on to it later. For the Rangers game, I think it was Patrick McLaughlin that said it in the comments there. For me, that's the midfield 3 I would go with in the Rangers game. So if we get a penalty then, and Hatati's fit and he's playing, he probably hits it. No, well, between Hatate and Jota, I'm not sure. It's a bit of a free for all. It's not a bugbear, but I'd like my team to have a first or a designated penalty taker, if you like. But we do sort of rotate the team, so you need sort of contingency plans. And I'm looking at, you touched on the Kyogo penalty. I'm smiling and stuff. I heard that guy on a Super Scoreboard tonight, and it was a Celtic fan, and he was saying that he was really disappointed with his attitude and stuff like that. And obviously, because he was smiling, but it's just Kyogo. That's just how he plays the game. And let's not forget, we were 3-0 up at the time, and that doesn't give you a sort of pass for missing a penalty. But I mean, you can understand why he looked a bit more relaxed than if it was a last minute penalty at 0-0.
It's in the family.
Oh,
don't listen to your grandson.
You can understand being annoyed with that if it's 0-0, but he's relaxed. The team are in full flow. Everybody's enjoying the game, so why not have a smile? And okay, he's the width of a post. The keeper goes the wrong way. It's actually a really well struck penalty. He's the width of a post. He's probably maybe tried to be too precise. He's also had a wee bit of time to think about what he's going to do. Plus, there's no pressure on the penalty, which makes you probably subconsciously a bit more lackadaisical than you ordinarily would. So I've not got any issues with it, and I just think people picking up on that are just trying to sound a wee bit too clever, and it's just one of the ones you move on, sort of thing.
I don't think he does that, by the way. I don't think he acts like that. I think if it's 0-0, he doesn't act like that.
No.
I think the question is attitude's a bit far fetched. This is a guy who plays up front week in, week out, runs his heart out, gets goals on numerous occasions in the big games against Rangers and the Derby games. Do you know what I mean? He's a vital player to the machine, and I get sometimes when you look at these things, you can nitpick. I'm guilty of that. I nitpick at most things, to be honest, in the Celtic team. But Kyogo for me was just having a wee bit of a smile to himself, probably more of a how did I miss that kind of smile, and he got the goal. But what were we going to say, Ross?
I was just going to say that I also heard in that same sort of segment, a Super Scoreboard, that obviously the guy in the studio was coming back to him and like touching on how he's no unprofessional or anything like that, and he said that, I didn't realise this, but if he'd scored that penalty, I think, if I'm right in saying, I think that he was going to be the quickest player to 40 league goals since Charlie Nicholas in like the 80s. So if that's somebody who's no professional, then fuck knows what is. Do you know what I mean?
It's a type of thing we've fell into, Willie, isn't it? I mean, we look at positive results and we try and find a negative to spin, and people are probably nitpicking a bit too much on the Kyogo incident, the penalty kick. We all know we have a woeful record of penalties all through the years. Harry Larson wasn't great at them. Barry Robson had a good run at them, then he missed that one against Aalborg, and then there was a few other players in between that kind of run. But Alistair Johnson come up with one here. Alistair Jack, sorry. Come up with one. Alistair Johnson would be a good pen taker. Do you agree with that? Because he's good at everything else.
Well, what's that based on? Because I don't really.
I mean, to be fair, you could base it on the fact that the right back across the city scores 52 penalties a season, so maybe Johnson to get a slice of that pie. Do you know what I mean? That's maybe what he's basing it on.
Aye, but I mean, he's not got the same sort of left peg as Tavernier. He's a far better player than Tavernier, but I've not seen anything to suggest that he would be a good penalty taker. But then I've not seen anything to suggest he wouldn't. So I'm not adverse to it, but
I wouldn't.
I'm sure if he was going to be trusted, he would be on the penalties by now. I don't know.
I always think that you need to go with somebody that's good technically, and I think Johnson's pretty far down the list in the squad for me in that sense. I'm not by any means like slagging him or slating him. He's got so many good qualities, but just technically, I think there's players in the squad that are better.
Yeah. Who would you go for? Who would your number one be?
Well, Moyes no missed yet. So I think if he's on the park, he needs to keep going. But for me, Jota all day. He's technically as good as anybody in the pitch. Or Hatate. Hatate picks out passes for fun. So I'm pretty sure he could pick out the top corner on the ball.
True. I think Hatate would be a good penalty kick out.
Sorry, Stephen. He's just saying, Alistair's just saying he's basing his confidence. If Celtic were playing, well, just say it was a semi-final, right? And it's one each. There's 5 minutes to go. you're like, oh yes, we've got a penalty, and Alistair Johnson steps over it.
I couldn't watch.
I don't think I'd be feeling too good, like confident.
Well, we can't forget Juranovic did a Panika penalty in Bayer Leverkusen, like. So I mean, so
Juranovic's technically better.
I get what you mean. That's fair enough.
Johnston, by the way, he has done well going forward. You can't say, hasn't he? That ball into Kyogo against Rangers early in the game when it was offside was absolutely tremendous. But he is a good player going forward, but he does look that wee bit more awkward. He doesn't look as natural on the ball as a Jota, an O'Reilly, even a Juranovic, who's obviously not there now, but he doesn't look as natural.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a combination that happened on Sunday there, Willie. That was Johnson with a cross ball, a fantastic cross ball. Maeda back post with a lovely lofted header back towards himself and a good goal past the keeper. Let's speak about Maeda for a wee while. And another thing, I don't know what it is. It seems to be, I'm hearing things, and obviously I'm watching things too. I mean, I do watch a lot of Celtic content on YouTube and things, and there's been a few clamours that Maeda's maybe not performing well, and he should be getting dropped for the likes of Haksabanovic or whoever to come in. What I feel to get with that argument is Maeda's so vital to this team, and it works so well because of Maeda, because he's like the kind of first go to press, and then Kyogo follows, O'Reilly follows, and kind of draws them into like a free type pressing all the time. And I thought his goal, it was excellent. Usually, again, back to the Kyogo argument, you're expecting Maeda to kind of snatch at that opportunity, but he took his time and he headed it back across himself into the goal. And I just think this season, I think it's 10 goals he's got and maybe 10 assists, and you can't really underestimate him. Like, I think he's been fed.
No, I think you're bang on. Ross always says about the balance of the team, and him, he's a massive part of that. You'll have your trickery and your flair on one side, whether it's Jota or Haksabanovic, but he offers so much to the team that's maybe not seen as much from, well, I don't know what to say, the uneducated, but unless he's scoring 14 goals a week and getting 27 assists, people are like looking for something to like you said earlier, nitpick. The guy's been sensational. He's as important to this 11 as most. I think you miss him when he's out the team. Watching the game, there was one point where he's more than one point, but he's chasing their fullback and their winger back 40, 50 yards to win the ball. So what he brings to the team is massive, and he's still scoring goals and getting assists as well. It's just because it's not to the level of Kyogo and all the rest of them. And I just think because we're flying at the moment, people always look for a negative for whatever reason, and that's what that's another one that gets picked up. I think somebody needs to be made the scapegoat at least once a week. It used to be Greg Taylor week on week. Now he's the best thing since sliced bread among the fan base, and Maeda's one that gets stick as well. And I think it's just, well, I say it's because he starts, but I mean, any normal season, any normal player getting that amount of goals for the wing or assists, you're applauding him. He's a massive part of this team, and he's one of the first names in the team sheet for me. And I think, especially, I don't want to look too far forward, but Champions League next year, he's pivotal to the balance of the team and the defensive side of the game as well as the press. So you're not going to get a bad word out of me for Maeda. I think he's an absolute machine. And I keep going at that. There's that quote, I can't remember what it is, or a meme or something, or a meme, whatever people call it, and it's like it's Ange shouting, we never stop. Dysan's at half time still running. He's like, come on, Dysan, get the fuck in, it's half time.
I think with Maeda, Ross, like Willie said, and it's because that he doesn't offer the tricks. I mean, he doesn't offer the nice fancy back heels, or he takes on people on a mazy run and get past 3 or 4. But what he does give you, as we always say, is the enthusiasm, the effort, and the Champions League is a great point, and it's a great kind of level type thing to compare him to, because the Japan manager, the only Japanese player he called up for the World Cup was Dyson. Do you know what I mean? Out of Kyogo Hatate, who were on fire, probably even in better form than him at that time. And then Postecoglou always trust him on the left-hand side in the Champions League and the big games in Scotland as well. And I look at it, and people say about Jota being on the right, you're not getting the best out of him. And we're kind of putting Maeda there because he's I don't mean a teacher's pet or Ange's favourite, but I don't get that at all, because Jada, for me, on the other hand, has performed really well on the right-hand side and has contributed goals and assists the game. But with Maeda taking that chance, and by the way, the track and back thing, Kyogo done that right after the penalty kick. He ran about 50 yards and he pushed the Kilmarnock player off the ball. Thought it was fantastic. But where do you stand in the Maeda argument? And do you think he merits his place in this team week in, week out?
Well, I think he absolutely does. And I've said it, I've argued it till I'm blue in the face about what he does going the other way. And certainly in the bigger games, like you alluded to, the Champions League games against Rangers, where he sort of nullifies Tavernier. I know Tavernier got 2 goals in the last game against us, but you talk about his work rate going the other way, and it is unbelievable. But I think, I noticed it yesterday against the lesser teams with the greatest of respect, like a Kilmarnock. I think he's in the team as well because his pace and Kyogo's pace, and then obviously the flary Jota, that gets you on the front foot early in the game. I think he gets in behind. There was twice early on yesterday, and I think it was Kobayashi that played both balls, and he played it sort of over the top to Maeda, and his 2 first touches in both incidents, or his first touch in both incidents, were absolutely like he killed the ball dead, and then the other one he took it right into his stride, and he gave himself 2 opportunities to get crosses in. Okay, the end product wasn't there. He overhit both crosses. That's where he's maybe just that technical ability, if you like, but he gets his goal. He's on the go all the time. But that first 10-15 minutes, his pace and Kyogo's pace, that front 3, is key to getting in behind and stretching teams. So not only is he brilliant for coming back the other way in the bigger games, but that getting you in the front foot, he's pivotal to this team. And I think, well, I mean, it's controversial to say it because there is such quality like Hatate and stuff like that, and I absolutely love Hatate, and I'm fully aware that Hatate is a better player than Maeda, but right now Maeda, when he's on form, and I have to say, I think I had thingweed for him not to be in the team on Sunday, just because he'd been a wee bit out of form. He hadn't really affected, I think it was, the Rangers game and then the game before that, I can't remember it, but he didn't have that good a game. I thought maybe just take him out of the team for a game, but he came up with the goods on Sunday, got his goal, and he's right now he's my favourite Celtic player. Obviously, he isn't as easy on the eye, but for what he does for the team as a whole, I love the guy. Absolutely love him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do want to come to the comments here. And Peter McGlone made a point that I want to cover. Should we really be shifting Jada and Haksabanovic for Maeda? But we're going to come on to players who come into the game later on, so we'll discuss that further in the show, Peter. Patrick McLaughlin, again, I think we should be playing Jada on the left and banning you right winger.
I think Jota's better on the right.
I really do, but we'll get into that in a wee second. William, have you an upgrade on your camera? Looking sharp. You do look really sharp, buddy. Proper.
It's just because the big lights on.
The big light.
Mark
just the big lights on.
A regular commenter, especially after the podcast. Good to see you on, Mark. Greg Taylor's a great left back, but Scotland happen to have KTM Robertson 2 situation. Yeah, I mean, we'll go on to another player who impressed, and they made it. We'll obviously come back to it when we talk about Haksabanovic. Matt O'Reilly, Willie. The smile on my face says it all. I'm so happy. That he's back to playing like that again, and kind of stemming from the brilliant assist he got against Rangers in the Derby game, albeit after he didn't really affect the game too much. But he's come into this game, Moy still carrying an injury on the bench, and not pressure on him, but he had to impress somehow. And I thought his 2 goals were excellent. One on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side in the top bin, in the box where we always expect him to be. And he just looked himself again. And I know where we're going with this in terms of he still had the highest assist in the league for Celtic and all that stuff. But I mean, to the eye, let's be honest, he wasn't playing his greatest football for us. His 2 goals and the smile back in his face. It's great to have Man already back in the starting 11, isn't it?
Yep, definitely. He definitely looks sharper. Yeah, it's kind of the flip of what we were talking about with Maeda, whereas his people are saying he's not playing as well, but his stats are saying otherwise. I mean, he's got the most assists in the league, and he's not been playing as regular this year. But I think he's just a victim of his own performances when he first came in, because he came in and hit the ground running and he was absolutely fantastic. People are kind of holding him to that height, and rightly so. But I mean, even Messi and all the rest of them don't turn up and play 10 out of 10 every week. And I still think he's been fabulous this year. I agreed he's not been as good throughout the year as he was yesterday. He just seemed to be right up for it. His press was much better than it has been, and his passing looks sharper. He just and when he's in that sort of mood, we see when he's in that sort of mood, there's nobody taking that number 10 off him. For me in the team, I think he's a fabulous football player. Technically, he can create. I remember seeing, what was it? I can't remember. I was watching something recently about it was Ruud van Nistelrooy on the overlap with Gary Neville, and Ferguson used to get them on the changing room and say, Van Nistelrooy's so clever, his runs are brilliant, but Scholes is the only one that can spot some. You just need to do the same. And I think O'Reilly and this team's similar. He's getting this, forming this partnership with Kyogo where he knows where the runs are, and he's definitely technical enough to find the passes. If he keeps the form up, then there's nobody. He's got that. I know there's a lot of clamour about certain positions, and especially this midfield three now. It was kind of nailed down at the start of the season, but other people have performed, and coming into the season, I think everybody would have said that Kilmarnock, Hatate and O'Reilly were definitely the midfield three starting, and that's it. And it's not kind of came to fruition this season because Moyes kind of came into the fold and now Iwata's in. But for me, when O'Reilly plays like that, there's nobody taking that number 10 shirt off him.
It's funny because I think the midfield debate something we're going to get into tonight. There's a lot of players clamouring for starting positions. Me and Ross kind of agree and similar here, which is quite interesting. But Danielle comes in. Matt was pivotal in getting us through those games when Kilmarnock was injured. He's class, and his back issues was popped up this season, 100%. And I think it was Paul Dad said he had personal issues, so it's great to see him with a smile back in his face playing football. But what I thought was quite interesting from William there, Ross, he kind of just said it, nailed it, and I totally agree. Matt O'Reilly in that form, no one's snatching that number 10 jersey from him. Like, I think he's like, when he plays like that, he's so silky, Tom Roderick-esque maybe not the same sort of getting past players and that, but them finishes in the box were incredible.
I mean, I had said yesterday about obviously maybe going with the midfield three, which will go into Iwata, Hatate and McGregor, and there's reasons behind that, but I mean, I can't argue with a single thing that Willie said. When Matt O'Reilly is on that sort of form, the swagger was back. Yep. He's the most cultured out of all our midfielders in that role. He's just got that calmness and that silkiness. So you can't really argue for him when he is like that, not being the first choice for that role. But again, we've got all these midfielders, and it's absolutely hurting my brain trying to work out what is the best three. But I think there's a best. You just play your best three for that fixture. Is Matt O'Reilly in that for the semi-final? Possibly. It's you can make a case for almost everybody, and you wouldn't say they were wrong. You'd be happy with any midfield, but Matt O'Reilly yesterday, I totally agree with you, Stephen. Willie's made the case, and I agree with that as well. His numbers have still been great when he has been in the team, but I do agree that on the eye, watching the game with your eye, he hasn't had that swagger, that just what he showed yesterday. You haven't seen that film. Fits and starts this season, but the way he's taking that second goal, he just caresses it in, and it just even the way the ball goes, like hits the net, it goes right round the side net, and then just like curls right round the whole net, and it's just like that. He's not blasted at you. If you blast it, it hits the net and goes back out. It's just caressed right in. It was just a beautiful goal, a brilliant finish, and the same with the first one. He's just obviously passed it in so calm. The confidence was up after that. And he was influential in us taking Kilmarnock apart in that first half an hour.
What I noticed as well, he was taking a lot of positions that Atate would take up, coming drifting out to the left with Taylor and drifting out to the right with Johnson and linking up with them guys. And I just thought a wee bit more freer in his game, and he just looked good. And
sorry, Stephen, do you think that him moving into the 6 kind of hindered him in his progression in the 10? Because it's when he went back there, he wasn't.
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, we made the case for that before. I always remember when we done the podcast for that first European game, we were absolutely shiting our pants at the thought of Matt O'Reilly being in the 6. But right. what can happen in that situation is, in my personal opinion, if you play an extended amount of games at a certain position, then you're thrusted back into the 10 or 8. You're probably going to take a while to find your feet. And at that time as well, Moy was coming on to a game because he was starting with O'Reilly at times, and when he was in that 6th row, so he was finding his feet within the team and found his position. He kind of took that shirt after the World Cup. O'Reilly struggled to find his form, and I think just now he's probably something's clicked in his brain, and injuries, personal life issues. If he's getting them cleared up,
I think that's another reason as well. Like Moyes had the shirt, and it's really difficult to show what you're about in 10, 15, 20 minutes a game rather than the 70 minutes he was getting beforehand. So sitting watching him and he's only getting 20 minutes. I think it's difficult to judge in that case. And listen, Moy was more than deserving of the shot at that time. But listen, he's got injured, and O'Reilly's got his chance, and then now Moyes now injured, and O'Reilly's came in and took his chance. So now it's Moyes' turn to try and fight and get that position back.
Yeah, 2 goals and an assist in recent games is a good way to go about it. We'll go with the only blemish in this game, and apart from us thinking it was going to be 9, 10, 11, 12-0 at points, we kind of tailored off the second half, and they scored in the first half, didn't they? Aye. And Callum McGregor made that mistake cutting in, albeit, to be fair, Postecoglou said he's allowed 1 error in his career. I totally agree. He's just fantastic, and I don't want to pigeonhole him too much here, but on a grass pitch, I think he's getting away with that. I think the surface had a big part to play. The ball kind of held up, and his running position wasn't right, and he got out-muscled. Alistair Jack wants me to ask you a question, Willie. Joe Hart, too slow getting the cross for the finish? Or was he just grounded? Because I think his momentum was taking him down, and you all know my thoughts on Joe Hart. I don't want to bore you again. I think he'll be second choice at most next season, but Kobayashi tried to get in there. He was trying to get in about it. Joe Hart fell, and they got the goal. Do you think there's any fault to his door there?
No, I would say it's harsh if that's the case, but I say that every week about Joe Hart.
You've got to stop.
I mean, Calmack's got the assist. He's laid them on in goal. Yeah. I mean, 9 times out of 10, the striker's going to score. So I think it would be harsh to have a go at Hart there. To be honest with you, in my opinion.
What about Calmack then? Do you think he has the? Do you think have a go at him, or just one of them things that let him off?
Well, it's kind of like, remember back in the day, if it was Sutton or Hartson or Thompson making a mistake, you're screaming at the telly. But if it was Henrik, you're like, unlucky son. It's kind of similar with Calmack. I can't hear go. Ange's right. I mean, how many times have you seen him make that mistake? And the boy shows for the ball in every tight situation, and I've never seen a mistake like that out of him. I know that I can remember off the top of my head anyway. So if you're going to do it in a game that you're 4-0 up already, and a bit like Kyle, go have a wee smile and then just move on. Although I guarantee you Calmack will be fucking fuming with himself.
Oh, definitely. Before we come to you, Ross, I do want to come to the comments, get them involved a wee bit here. Stevie Boys come in. All right, troops, good to see you on. Brown Warrior, see when the penalty kick was given, was I the only one secretly hoping Joe Hart would take it? Funny enough, McGranda said that. Patrick McLaughlin, do you remember Roderick scoring in the 5-0 game for Sevco Celtic Park? O'Reilly's second goal reminded of that. Monty, good to see O'Reilly back in form. He's a very good player, but must start to believe he's a Celtic player and start to grab games by the scruff of the neck. I think that's what we're basically saying about him in a roundabout way. But to come to you about this last kind of the conceded goal, as I said, the Willie there, Alistair Jack thinks there's some blame to follow Joe Hart's door. Personally, looking at it, I thought he stayed up for as long as he could. There was so many instances where it looked like he was hitting the shot, and obviously he's banned that as a goalkeeper, so he's gone down gradually, and then he does hit the deck, and good composure from the Kilmarnock player to score it, but just one of them freak goals. And I thought, to be fair, there was a lot of chances for Kilmarnock to sneak a ball from the back forward times yesterday, like.
In terms of us building out for the back?
There were some hurry moments in that second half.
I mean, Kobayashi's numbers in terms of passes, I think you sent it into the chat. earlier, was very good. I think it was almost 100%. But they did take a few unnecessary risks. You could put it down to, obviously, Starfelt and Kobayashi haven't played a lot together. But there was, even Joe Hart, was a couple of times he had to go sort of half long, and he didn't execute the pass very well at all. But we got away with it, and we were 4-0 up, so you can sort of let them off with it. In terms of the goal, Cal McGregor makes a mistake. I don't know, with grass pitch, artificial pitch, I think he still makes that mistake. And it's just one of the ones. So? It's a lap. It's just a lapse in concentration. I don't think he really. I think he feels like he has a wee bit more time than he actually did. And you've got to credit the Kilmarnock player. I'm bloody sure if it was that done what the Kilmarnock player done, would be waxing lyrical about him. So you have to credit him. If you're sort of talking about wanting to lay a bit of blame at Joe Hart's door, I really don't get that one personally. He's trying to, it's sort of last ditch. He's trying to make himself big. He's been sold once or twice, a couple of deflections, and then obviously the boy gets the chance, and Kobayashi does everything he can, but he's never going to stop that. It was a wee bit of a calamitous goal to lose, and Ange will not be happy with it. McGregor will not be happy with it. These guys are professional. They don't like to make mistakes. They don't like to concede goals. But sometimes it happens, and especially when you're up 4-0 and the team that you're playing against have made 2 substitutions to sort of stem the flow, if you like, half an hour into the game. Then we kind of say to yourself, probably could have made the substitution earlier, but you don't want to take guys off after 15, 20 minutes of a game. Do you know what I mean? It's embarrassing, but he had to do it. And I think at that point, Celtic realised, or probably even before that, they knew that the game was dead and buried, and you're 12 points clear in the league. Sometimes you don't want to see it, but sometimes you have that wee sort of subconscious, they're only human, lapse in concentration, and it's the top level in Scotland. And if you do have that lapse in concentration, 8-9 times out of 10, you'll probably get punished for it.
I mean, say to be fair, like when you turn to Alan Power to come on for your game plan, it always gives me a wee giggle watching him play, because he's absolutely awful. He's just a born hacker. That's all he is. And come to the comments here, Paul Dad. I want to address this. Hart is a whipping boy with a lot of fans getting blamed for Taft's free kick, and now for Calmac's era, it's unwarranted.
Yep.
I don't believe so, Paul. Yep. In my own opinion, I just think the writing's on the wall for Joe Hart, and it's no fault to his own. And I just look at him. Yeah, he's got a great physique and stuff like that, but he's just, for me, a yard too slow, especially for the big games. And yeah, some shot stopping saves he's great at, but we need a keeper who can build out from the back as well as shot stopping, penalty kick saving. And Joe Hart, for me, isn't quite living up to that at the moment. He's been a great servant while he's been at Celtic, but I think next season, for my opinion, he'll be second choice. Bill, you want to jump in there?
I just totally agree with not what you said. Who was it that said that in the comments?
Paul Dad.
100%. I've not got the comment. I can't see the comments, but for the comments that I've seen you bring up, there's been easily 5 or 6 that I've seen slating Hart's performance for the goal or whatever, but there's only one person that talked about his point blank save for the header, and that just says everything about what I feel like the majority of the fan base, their opinion on Hart. They see all the negative stuff and they just ignore all the good stuff that he does. I said it on Friday. I feel like Starfelt's made more mistakes than Hart this season, but because he's got defenders around him and a keeper behind him to stop these mistakes turning into goals, it doesn't look as bad. Hart makes one mistake and everybody's talking about it for weeks and weeks on end. Another thing with Starfelt is, and I didn't want to get on at Starfelt because I think he's been brilliant for us this season, but they talk about how this whole clean sheet record with him and CCV, there's a keeper behind him as well that's got that clean sheet record, but that doesn't get talked about as well. So I just think that it's far too harsh on him with a lot of people. I think he gets far too much stick. And again, it's because we're so successful and looking great at the moment. we could win 6-7-8-1, and people will give him grief for that one goal, even though all the fantastic stuff that. And I just think, again, like you talked about earlier, I think there's some nitpicking, in my opinion. Do I think there's better out there? Yes, I do. But I think that about every position. I reckon there's better strikers out there than Kyogo, but nobody's clamouring to get a better striker than Kyogo. And I just think sometimes it's a bit. I think it's just too harsh on him. I think there's the amount of qualities that he's got, that he's brought to the team as well. And we talk about, everybody talks about, oh, he can't play for the back. Well, when was the last time he made a mistake for playing for the back? Because I can't remember it.
Europe, probably.
When was that? Months and months and months ago.
But that's the highest stage of them all. That's my opinion, where he's not good enough at.
Yeah, well, Starfelt made mistakes in Europe, but nobody's clamoring for him to get shunted out.
I don't know.
Most goalkeepers aren't great with their feet, though. Like, people want to jump on this, like, his distribution with his feet is not good enough, right? That's fine, right? I get it, isn't it? You look at Juranovic, right? We play with inverted fullbacks. Everybody's like, Juranovic is brilliant, right? But for me, I want my left back to defend first and foremost. Alistair Johnson comes in. He's a better defender. He's doing his primary job well. I think Joe Hart is doing his primary job for the most part well, and that's keeping the ball out the net, not starting attacks. I think he, again, like Willie, of course there's better out there. There's younger. Joe Hart is going to have to leave Celtic at some point. I think if we can get a better goalkeeper than Joe Hart in the summer, then by all means go and do it if the price is right. But I said it on Friday night, if we're going to go down that road, we can't make the same mistakes as we did when we let Gordon go and Foster left. We have to keep Joe Hart there so that if whoever we bring in maybe doesn't quite work out, it's no happening with many Angie's signings, but it could. And the goalkeeper is a huge, as we've seen to our detriment, it is a huge, huge position. If you don't get it right, you're struggling. So you need Joe Hart to be that safety net, if you like, if it doesn't work out. But if we go into next season and Joe Hart is the goalkeeper, I'll be more than comfortable. But if we can get better, then by all means, go out and do it.
I think looking at the comments, I've got a few members of the Bhoys bus in, David Logue and Russell himself there. He came up, I like Hart. He served his purpose very, very well for Celtic, and Celtic have been very good for a third choice EPL keeper at both Spurs and Burnley. Some criticism unfair and can be improved. And David said, I haven't seen this. Maybe you have seen this. William, come to you first, David. David Logue was saying his comments were interesting after the game in regards to him enjoying his time at Celtic, but according to David anyway, it sounded like a prep for goodbye. Did you get that vibe from that? Did you see the interview?
I did. I didn't get the whole goodbye thing, because he was saying that he's got another year in his deal, but he's not worried about the talks in the future. He knows that he's the age that he is, that his days are numbered. Well, at this level, certainly, but he's loved every moment that he's had at the club, and he's just want to enjoy. He's just want to enjoy what he's got left. But I didn't take that as I'm away in a year. I took that as I'm coming towards the end of my career. Whether it's another 2 or 3 years, there's still not a long time left in football. And he always talks about his love for the club, and that's what I took for it, that he loves the club and he would like to. He just wants to enjoy every moment. He's no one to get hung up on all the other stuff. So that's what I took from it. It's an interesting one. I'm not so sure. It is.
It's interesting because I do agree with you, Willie. I mean, money, doesn't guarantee a great player. We've seen that with Barkas. We've seen that with loads of players who've signed in the past, and I'm excited to see like Toby Oluwami get a chance, the young English goalkeeper, maybe Benjamin Siegrist, and see maybe him stepping up. He's been injured on the treatment table for months now, and I don't know what the situation is with him. He's never on the bench no more. Scott Baines kind of filled that void, and I just think my personal opinion, as I said, we'll move on from it. We can upgrade in Joe, but again, like you both said, we can upgrade anywhere, but it comes down to financial capabilities and what's available on the market at that given time. But we'll move on to some players, Ross, who come into the team, and we'll start with Kobayashi. To be fair, I thought Kobayashi was excellent. He's started 3 games, come on as a sub for a couple, and he's won every game, clean sheet in most of them. I think it's like 90% of the games he's played in, alongside Starfelt. I don't think him and Carter Vickers have got a chance to play together. Maybe last 10 minutes of a game somewhere. Can't quite remember who. But what's your opinion on Kobayashi so far? Because one big difference is, for me, linking the attack with defence is much, much better when he's in the team.
Well, aye, that is the major difference. His distribution is very good. You've seen that in the 2 passes early in the game to Maeda over the top. He usually gets the passes right. I don't know if he's ready to split up that partnership of Starfelt and CCV, but he certainly looks a really good, like, a ball-playing centre-half. Similar to, I think we've said it before, it was similar to what Jens was like, but obviously Ange has had his eye on, I don't think there's a great deal of difference between Kobayashi and Jens, but Ange has obviously had his eye on Kobayashi. He's probably a wee bit younger. Jens was a funny one, but obviously Ange was preferring Kobayashi. He did come in, and it made sense to then let Jens go in terms of the game time he was going to get, and he was only a lone player. But I think Kobayashi's been really, really good. Very impressed by him. Another one of Ange's signings for Japan, and he just looks a real confident player. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. But again, I don't think he'll be splitting up that partnership any time this season, because you're going into this point of the season where the league title, we all know, it is wrapped up, but on paper it isn't quite. So you're not going to split your defence up for that and then go into a semi-final to then go and try and win a treble. You're not going to bring him in at this stage of the season and make him a mainstay. But going into next season, you never know. But what I will say is, when Kobayashi plays, Starfelt goes on to his more natural side, and there's a good balance there. But CCV, he's playing no matter what. So if Kobayashi does come in, it's going to be for Starfelt.
I totally agree. And I mean, look at us. Look how far we've come since the start of this podcast. It's great, isn't it? It's far. But
it was an absolute car crash.
You look at Kobayashi, Billy. Mark Kearney said it there. Mark, what is it? You all right? Yeah. Mark Kearney said it there.
Absolute car crash. I said there's still time.
It was. Well, it's us three. You never know what happens. And the just fight with Kobayashi, I mean, is he an upgrade in Starfelt on that left-hand side? I think personnel-wise and favourite position, like Ross said, yes. But defensively, is he better? Still question marks for me there. But in terms of what Kobayashi brings, I think the more comfortable left-sided defender suits the game plan that Postecoglou likes. I think the Jens argument, he was probably just filling a void until he got Kobayashi. Likewise with Abelgard until we got Awada, and he's come in, he's putting up trees, which will come on to him shortly. But what's been your kind of initial impression of Kobayashi and also the Starfelt thing? Can you see him really putting in for a starting berth next season alongside Carter Vickers?
Well, I've been super impressed with what we've seen from him. I think I think that's a big statement, to be honest. I think I would need to see more of him. But what I would say, the biggest difference in the two that I see is Kobayashi's composure on the ball, even under pressure. I've been so impressed with him. There was numerous times yesterday. I remember being at the game against St Mirren where he played the full 90 with Starfelt as well, and under the pressure, he doesn't. You know, I've said many a times, I feel like sometimes Starfelt under pressure, the ball becomes a hot potato and he's just trying to get rid of it. Whereas I've not seen that from Kobayashi as of yet. If anything, he's the polar opposite. He's been so composed. So I've been super impressed. And not just that, there was several times yesterday where there was shots coming in and he's throwing himself in front of it. Like Bhoys first, hands behind, open legs, Bhoys first, throwing himself in front of these shots. He did it for the goal as well. Kept trying to throw himself in front of it. I agree with that as well. By the way, David, I totally agree. I think he looks
totally agree with that.
Super confident. Looks great under pressure. is
Doesn't look as physical as Starfelt though. That's
no,
kind of like he's duels in the air and stuff like that, set pieces.
I agree
He's
with
done
that,
all right at it, but it's the fit. I don't know.
What I
Question
noticed as
marks.
well.
I said driving out of the defence, he's like he looks like CCV to me as well, and linking
Yeah.
up the play like you said. I think I've been super impressed. I would love to see a lot more of him. To say that he's going to out Starfelt at the moment, I think's a bit premature, but I can definitely see if he continues in that vein of form and gets more minutes under his belt. Then, listen, the biggest compliment I could pay him is if one of the two centre halves were missing next Sunday in that semi-final, I wouldn't be disappointed to see his name on the team sheet, and that's the biggest compliment I could give him.
Totally agreed.
Right.
I do want to address something here. Hoops Boy comes in. What happened to Mad John? He's still about, Hoops Boy. He's just getting sorted and stuff. And he'll be back on the podcast soon. You know what John's like. Referees will be coming after VAR in no time. But in terms of what Kobayashi, did you notice about Greg Taylor taking up positions as well? He was coming in more because he knew that he had that outlet where he can make that kind of inside run to the centre midfield and Kobayashi would find him instead of staying wide all the time for that receiving the ball from Starfelt, which everyone knows that he's going to do, by the way.
See what I love with Taylor?
Sorry, mate. I was just going to say, is that no the sort of position Taylor took up and Kobayashi found him for?
Yeah, the first
Matt
goal.
O'Reilly's first goal.
Matt O'Reilly. Yeah, Matt O'Reilly's first goal. It was literally 3 passes. Boom, boom, boom.
See what I loved about Taylor as well? Did you see him screaming at Kilmarnock at one point?
I didn't know.
Say you should be getting in there. I was like, you're shouting at the captain, mate. And he's like, you should be moving there and that. And he's having a go at him. And Kilmarnock's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I love to see that.
So they are, it's class.
Yeah, I think again, Taylor's kind of a leader now. Everyone says it when they come into the club that he's one of the first boys to speak to them. But it kind of rounded off Kobayashi, like what you both said. I want to see more of him. I think we'll have time to play about now. We've got a cushion in the league. Maybe take a few chances here and there with him, throw him in for a full game with Cardiff Vickers to see what that partnership looks like. But we'll move on to another player in the midfield. Willie, to start with you. Tomoki Iwata, the MVP from Japan, the League Player of the Year over there. £850,000 obligation to buy on loan. And I mean, me and you're probably going to have a wee bit of debate here. I don't think for me he's an Atate. I keep seeing people say this. He's not the same as Rio Atate. What Iwata does though, he covers the ground. He dispossesses players with ease. He plays a simple ball, and he's always looking around himself. And there was a lot of interchanging in the midfield yesterday, which I thought was great. Calmack was the 6 sometimes. Iwata dropped in there sometimes, and even O'Reilly. It was just interchanging. O'Reilly alluded to the fact as well. But what's been your impressions of Iwata? I think we're all big fans from what we've seen of him anyway.
Oh, what a find again. I don't know how Ange does it. The boys are like, he looks a top player again. Like, he's only had limited minutes, but for what we've seen yesterday, I was absolutely blown away by his performance. And I said to you guys, I thought he was. I thought he played just like Hatate yesterday. I thought he was picking up the ball, like you said, covering ground, driving, playing passes, picking up the wee pockets of space in between the lines. But again, when Calmack went off and he went and sat in that 6, he looked so comfortable in there as well. Always looking for the ball, picking the passes. But yeah, he was getting shots off as well. Like he had a great strike at goal that could have went the other side of the post. He was everywhere. And for me, I said to you guys yesterday, even though O'Reilly had 2 goals, he was man of the match for me by a country mile. I thought he was absolutely superb. I think he covered every blade of grass. And I think it's an interesting point what you said about the 3, because they 3 in particular, I think, can play all 3 positions in that midfield. Yeah. So it is an interesting one for them to interlink. But I think for me, Calmack's always going to be that 6. He's the one that drives the team forwards and starts the attacks. And so, yeah, I will go on to what your favourite midfield 3 was going to be. But,
don't you worry, strap yourself in. We're going to come on to it 100%.
Yeah, I mean, for the money again, this guy is what a find again. What a player! Listen, if you're in a team and you, like yesterday, we did not miss Hatate. Like, what more can you say? Again,
that's another huge compliment to play him. Big Red comes in here. What about the rumours Cardiff Vickers may need an operation after the semi? Hope it's bullshit. I like the good wordplay there. Let's hope not, Big Red. Let's hope not. We're not putting it down here on the podcast because that would be, if he needs an operation, Jesus, how many months would he be out? But, I mean, in terms of Iwata...
Kobayashi.
100%. But then we're nothing really after that in terms of cover. But in terms of Iwata, Ross, we spoke about it. We've seen in the second half especially that kind of double pivot role with the 2 6s and O'Reilly playing as that 3-10. When Kilmarnock were attacking, it was Iwata and Calmac dropping into that kind of the defensive positions. And just to come to the comments, Mark Kearney, I think Iwata has the passing ability similar to Hatate, but Stephen's bang on. He's not that role. I reckon he can move into that role. Maybe he looks creative. Peter McGlone, Cody Iwata, some said. But in terms of him in that midfield, I just think he just looks so calm, composed, and he looks an absolute unit, by the way. When you get the close-up of him, he looks really, really built, filled out really well, and quick. I've seen people saying he's slow. Don't know what they're watching. I think he's one of the, probably covers the ground, one of the fastest in the team. What's your initial thoughts of him?
I think he's absolute quality. He's just, like Willie says, what I find. I watched, I don't know if you've seen it, I watched Matt O'Reilly's post-match interview, and he was asked about him, and the first thing he says is, he's an absolute tank. Like, he says, you want to see him, some build. So
he actually said that his arms are the same size as some of your legs.
I couldn't. I was trying to remember what the other bit was, but that was it. But I mean, that says it all. I think he's quality. I would agree with you, Stephen, in the sense I don't think he's as dynamic as a Hatate. I think he covers the ground a bit better. He covers the ground better than anybody in the team in that midfield three. But Iwata, I thought he was just going to be an out-and-out 6, but he's proven over the last few games that he can do the 8. I'm not sure if he's really good at the 10. I don't think it comes as natural to him, but certainly the 6 or the 8, we've seen it. I loved how I said it earlier in the podcast that I loved how they were sort of mixing it up, changing it.
Mm-hmm.
O'Reilly was predominantly, you would have to say, the 10, but McGregor and Iwata had sort of changed about a bit. And I have to say, there was a point in that second half where I think Iwata did find himself in the 10 a few times, but I really like this because they weren't doing that earlier in the season. This has sort of come in more in recent weeks where they are like but in recent weeks you have seen this where there's that rotation in the middle of the park with the 3, and I think it's really good because, as we'll probably come on to if we're talking about our like midfield 3, it would maybe go for that semi-final, regardless of who it is. Being able to rotate and interchange the way they have been is going to be really good because Beale, I was saying on Friday night, Ange needs to find a way stopping Beale from nullifying McGregor for chunks, portions of games, if you like, no chunks, and he has done it. And I think this kind of interchanging could be the answer, possibly. But,
bang on.
Aye, it'll bam, but they'll prepare for Cal McGregor in the 6, and if we can interchange like we do with our 2 wide men, they swap throughout the game. It sort of bamboozles the opponent, and it's a really good tool and weapon to have. And I hope we can utilise that in the semi-final.
Well, I mean, we'll come on to it now then. If you could fast forward to the semi-final, Ross, and you're the man in charge, who you're writing down that midfield trio? Everyone fit, who you're writing down?
Well, yesterday when I was watching the game, I said 100%. Then I sat and I was listening to Willie and I talking about Matt O'Reilly, and I'm no 100%. I don't know. On the evidence, yesterday's performance, I think for me, now it boils down to if Hatate's fit. If Hatate's fit, he's in the team. Absolutely no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
I think for me, I'm playing Iwata. I think he's been outstanding. And he's got that bit more of a defensive mind, if you like, than an O'Reilly. So for that, I would probably go with McGregor as well. But again, if I mean, it's so difficult because they're such good players.
So good,
you could play McGregor, Hatate, and O'Reilly. You could play McGregor, Hatate, and Moy. You could play Awata, McGregor, Hatate. There's so many options, and whatever one Ange goes with, I think on the day will be good enough to beat anything in the middle of the park that Rangers have got to offer.
I think what you.
I don't know.
I think what you said, you made a great case with the rotation, and I think that's probably the solution Postecoglou's trying to find in that kind of fluid type movement. O'Reilly can drop to the 6. They can all do it. So in an instance, you can have McGregor to the left, dropping in where Taylor is, all that type of stuff to pick up the ball. So effectively, that will drag more Rangers players out of position and make more space for the counter attack or whoever has the ball in that situation. But for me personally, and again, it's no slight on the players involved. I just think, I would go Kilmarnock, Awata, and Hatate for speed and absolute just dynamism in the midfield and covering ground. And O'Reilly, I know we said it there, Willie, he is fantastic as the 10, but in this semi-final, it's a one-off game, and for me, you need. Mark Kearney said it. They got close to us because of our personnel and how slow that midfield was in that game. Thankfully, we came away with the result. But can you see that happening? And where does it lead the likes of Moy and Turnbull in the squad? Again, I'm not bashing Moy. I'm just asking.
No. I think Mark Kearney's comments are aimed at Moy as well, and I totally get it. And he was off the pace that game, so I totally understand. I think with regards to Moy and Turnbull, I mean, folk were clamouring for Moy to be Player of the Year 6-8 weeks ago, and now it seems like he's having to fight 2 or 3 people to get his position back, which is what we want in the squad. We want competition for places, and at this moment in time, has he been moved down another peg? I would probably say so. I think Awata's setting it alight at the moment. Does Ange think that? I'm not so sure. But next week, I don't think Hatate needs to be risked if he's not fully fit. And that's how I would see. I think if Hatate's fully fit, then for me, it's Kilmarnock, Hatate, and O'Reilly. If Hatate isn't fully fit, then Awata plays for me all day in that 8. But I just think that I don't think anybody can pick a pass like O'Reilly does, and all it needs is that one moment in the game where he picks a pass and Kyogo finishes. So I think he's super important. Yeah, there's lots of clamour for that from a lot in the chat and yourselves, and I see it, I do, but I just don't think. I don't think a 10's Hatate's favourite position. I don't think he would. I think he's much better in that 8.
I would have Hatate in the 8 still in that midfield 3. I would have McGregor in the. I think he's done that before under Rodgers. I know he's a bit older now, but I think he could still play that role.
I hear what you're saying. But I wouldn't move Kilmarnock for the 6 until he retires.
But say to be fair, that goes back to what O'Reilly was saying. It was fluid. They were moving positions anyway, so it wasn't set for McGregor to stay in the 6. So effectively, he was pushing up the 8 and the 10.
I don't think McGregor stays in the 6 anyway. Like majority of the game he does, but he still gets involved in the attacks and still gets goals.
Oh, aye.
So I didn't see anything different from Kilmarnock yesterday than I have seen all season. To be honest,
I think that's a good point by Brown Warrior. We don't really operate with an out.
It's more a figure of speech, if you like. But I think one thing we can all agree on is no matter what midfield 3 we play, I don't think we can play with Moy and O'Reilly.
Oh God, no!
It's too slow. It is. It's one or the other if you're going with either.
Look, see. To be fair, right? I'll address the elephant in the room, and that's Aaron Moy, right? And Willie, me and you've had back and forth all week on it. I would be still confident with him in the team if it's Hatate, Moy, and Kilmarnock. It's the combinations for me don't work. Do you know what I mean? It's if you're playing Moy and O'Reilly, you're automatically carrying 2 players there effectively. No one's doing that defensive duty. O'Reilly can do it a bit better than Moy, but Moy's not that player. We've seen that. He's been there. He's done it. He can't wear that T-shirt for Celtic. I just think in the game against Rangers, especially the first half, he should have been hooked earlier. I know you were talking about not having the substitutions in the first half earlier, Ross, but he was off the pace. And that was probably more to do with injury. The game he started after was quite similar. And it's not me kind of saying he's not good enough or whatever, but I just think with O'Reilly back in form, Iwata coming to the fore, he's dropped down a peg. And Willie, you alluded to that fact as well. He's a decent squad player to have. And when our top performers play well, O'Reilly, not a better passer in the team. Willie, I agree. He's so technical on the ball. He can get them goals in good positions. And I think it's testament to Iwata that coming in to make this impact after two starts. The people are clamouring to be the first choice midfielder alongside Hatate and Kilmarnock. And not looking too far ahead of myself, but I can see that happening in European football next season. Again, for the more solid aspect of it. But what's your opinion on that one, Ross?
In terms of Moy?
Yeah, where does it leave him in the squad pecking order?
I wouldn't say he's dropped down a peg or two. We're saying he's dropped, or you're saying he's dropped down a peg or two off the back of a poor performance against Rangers where he wasn't fit, and Matt O'Reilly had one really good performance against Kilmarnock. I think Aaron Moy, fully fit, I think he's shown what he can bring to the team. I think he was a really, really big player for Celtic in the final against Rangers, and I think he could be that again. I don't think he's dropped down the pecking order once he gets fully fit. I think he'll have as much chance as anybody to get into that midfield three, and I think, well, me personally, I would be very comfortable with him in there. But I mean, we're talking here saying we can't have O'Reilly and Moy in the same team. It doesn't work. We had O'Reilly and an unfit Aaron Moy in the team against Rangers, and we beat them. So
yeah,
what's it going to be like when we've got like a fully firing midfield three, whoever that may be?
Don't worry, they've got Todd Cantwell. He does the weirdest celebrations known to man. That guy has a serious issue that he needs to sort out within himself.
The no look 60th pass.
Oh, mate, incredible! But sure, that's the media. The media are pressing that button again on them, but before this cup semi. But we'll leave the Iwata chat. I like that wee debate. The comments were getting involved, and there was a wee song as well about Matt O'Reilly being back and forth. We all love to see it. It's a competition. We love to see it, Celtic, and it's great to see that every player's fighting for their jersey. But we'll move on to another curious case, Willie. Haksabanovic. What's going on here? I mean, he's had 2 chances in the last couple of weeks. It was his first league start since November, I believe. And he's come on, fits and starts from the sub bench, scored against Hearts and a few other clubs in between that. But when he's starting games, he doesn't look like he can get into it at all. And do you think that's maybe coming to the Maida argument that we come back into again? Is it because we're putting Maida to the left, where Haksabanovic plays his best football? Or is it just a case of you play on the pitch, you interchange positions, get on with your game and show your skill and ability?
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, every time he's been coming on and getting 20 minutes, he's looked brilliant, and we've all wanted him to, get a start. But you're right, he's had 2 starts recently, and both he's flattered to deceive. Yeah, it's a strange one. I'm the same with this argument with Jota is better on the left as well. I think it's nonsense. I think that, like we always say, there is interchanging and all the rest of it as well. But Haksabanovic has played as a 10 in the past as well, and Sean, so it shouldn't really matter if he's on the right, left, or in the 10. He's more than capable of. He's more than capable of beating players. He's more than capable of getting in the box, scoring goals, and I never seen any of that on Sunday. It's not saying he's a bad player. I still think he's a fantastic player. Everything that he's saying in the media is absolutely bang on. He's not doing a Yakimakis and complaining about getting time. He's saying that he's loving it here and he's going to wait his chance and just work hard. And when, like you say, when he's been coming on, he's been grabbing goals and looking sharp and looking fresh. But David Turnbull's been another one the same for me. He comes on and he looks great, and I think he had a start or two and didn't look as good. So Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's the pressure. Maybe it's the pressure of the fact that if he doesn't perform, he knows he's not getting to start again next week. Yeah, he's young, but I'm not worried in any. Like he's a fabulous player. It's just been a bit frustrating to see when he has had he's got his starts. He's not performed like we know he can. But for what you see in the 20 minutes when he comes on and bags his a goal, and he's got that flair and trickery and beats players, and he's got a great cross on him as well. So, yeah, it's just a shame that he's not showing it when he started. But I still think he's a fabulous player, and when he doesn't start, what an option to come off the bench.
I mean, to be fair, his ability's not to be doubted. Like, we've seen it. So, I mean, he can take players on. He can make players look silly at times when he goes past them. Come to the comments here, Mark Nugent. I like Haksabanovic, but he wasn't great over the weekend. Paul Datt thinks he's an impact sub. Let's look at it again here. I've lost a few of the comments. Peter McGlone, remember, he's only 23. Kevin 14, like you said, Willie. Every squad player brings something different. I think as well, Ross, I've seen the argument of the pitch, but I think this pitch suits Haksabanovic because he played in Swedish football. And the majority of the pitches in their top flight are actually 3G or 4G. So I don't see that being the argument here. I just fail to understand why in 2 games he's not really impressed. He's done an okay job, to be fair, but he's been involved in a few bits of play in that. But he's been a bit of a passenger, in my opinion. And I don't know, is it because he's better in a 10? Or is it, what Willie said, is it the pressure? But then you look at that and be like, he should be able to deal with it because we've got players like Abada who are younger than him who deal with it well. Kyogo deals with it. Hatate deals with it. So, what's the story with the mystery man, Haksabanovic, in your opinion?
Well, in terms of yesterday, I'm loath to sort of make a judgment on him. I don't think he is suited on the right. I think that his last start was against Hearts. Don't remember. I think it was maybe in the cup, and he didn't have a good game that day, and he was playing on the left. That can happen. Sometimes you just don't have a good game. In terms of yesterday, I can let him off to an extent because I think he's not as good on the right, in much the same way as people make the argument for me when they say that we'll lose a bit for Jota when he's playing on the right, because they say that he comes in off the left better. But Willie's made the case before that, okay, he comes in off the left, but he likes to have a shot, and a lot of the shots go flying over the bar. whereas with Haksabanovic, when he's coming off the left, a lot of them go flying into the top corner or into the bottom corner or whatever. I think he's predominantly right-footed. I think coming in off the left and having the curling efforts suits him. He can go outside as well at the same time. I just think you lose a bit with him because he's not got that.
But does that bring it back to the argument that made is hampering other players' Celtic careers playing on that left-hand side? If you think personally you lose a bit of certain individuals? Well,
no, because he's not a first choice. Your first choice front three is Maeda and Jota. You don't, for me, lose anything for Jota when he's playing on the right. I think he brings as much on the right as he does on the left. But he plays on the right to accommodate Maeda for what he brings to the team, and Maeda can't play on the right. Haksabanovic at the minute is second choice, I would say, on the left. He's decided to rest Jota yesterday and give Haksabanovic minutes. He's still playing Maeda. Maeda's absolutely not going to work on the right. I think Haksabanovic has got more of a chance of working on the right than what Maeda has. It didn't work out. You could say that's on the manager. I don't want to slag or poke at Haksabanovic for yesterday's performance because I think he is much better coming in off the left and he can play through in the middle in that 10. We've not seen a lot of him in that role. Again, I would still prefer him coming off the left. I think he's shown in fits and starts when he is coming into a game off the bench what he can bring to the team. But I think he's that build, that type of, that style of player that he needs games. He's no like as athletic as a Maeda or a Jota. He's a bit more durable. I think if he gets more games in a row, then you'll see the best of Haksabanovic. Haksabanovic. But the problem with that is it's difficult to give him a run of games when you've got a guy like Maeda or even Jota. If he decides to play Abada and move Jota back onto the left, you could even argue that he's maybe third choice on the left. It's a difficult one.
Can I ask you a question?
I like him and I think he's fully quality.
No, you can't, all right?
Can I ask you a question? So why does Maeda work on the left but not on the right? Because like what you're saying there about Haksabanovic, and I totally agree with what you say. On the left, when he's cutting in and he gets strikes at goal, I mean he's shown countless times already what he can do in that position. But Maeda doesn't do that. It's not as if Maeda is left-footed and needs the left to hit the byline to get crosses in as well, because that's not really his game. Is it the partnership with Taylor, or why does it not work on the right? I don't understand why Maeda can't work on the right.
Well, I think to be fair to Maeda, he switched with Jota quite a lot in the middle of matches, but his impact, I think his impact does lessen on the right-hand side. But what I would throw back into there is, with his club in Japan, the one Postecoglou used to manage, Morenos, he used to play predominantly off the left-hand side, coming into that kind of position. So he's well-versed in that. And playing in the Postecoglou system, he knows what's asked of him. The difference between Haksabanovic and Maeda is, it's going to sound so shit what I'm saying here, but I know what I mean. Haksabanovic has transferable skills, where Maeda's more one-dimensional, and you know what you get from him. So I would expect Haksabanovic to be able to play in multiple positions, like Ross said, with his technique, his ability, the way he can take a ball in and take players on. If he's in the 10, he should be effective. If he's off the right, he should be effective like Jota is. You look at Jota, he works on both flanks because he's an absolutely outstanding player. That's what I believe Haksabanovic should be aiming to do. Where I go back to Maeda, he's more one-sided. He's not comfortable on his right-hand side. And when you put Maeda there, at least you know what you're getting week in, week out.
Yeah, that sounds shit. I don't understand.
I don't know where they're coming from there. Like, to be
see,
fair.
if you're Haksabanovic, right, like you're saying, his biggest quality is cutting in on that left and through that left-hand side. Maeda doesn't do any of these things, so I don't understand what Maeda can do on the left that he can't do on the right.
But I would say
Haksabanovic can't cut in for the right on his left because he's not as good as he is on the left. So why? I just don't see why Maeda needs to. And I agree. I think he's looked better on the left. I don't know if it's because he works better with Taylor, like I said.
Well, he's no right foot, will he? He's no right foot.
That's what I was going to say. I would say he is predominantly left-footed, Maeda. I don't think he.
Maeda's not right-footed.
I don't think that he's. Yeah, but I don't think that he hits the byline and gets crosses in.
Well, I would disagree with that.
That's fair enough.
I would disagree.
Well, I mean, you look at the two early moments in the game yesterday. Kobayashi plays it over the top. He takes it into his path with one touch, hits the byline, puts in a poor cross. He makes darting runs late when it's coming in for the other side, but I don't think he's not going to pick the ball up, knock it by his man, and hit the byline. And it frustrates me that sometimes, because he should be able to do that, but he doesn't really do it often enough. And I don't know if it's because Taylor is coming in and giving him that option to come inside and play it into him. I don't know if he's being asked to do that and bring Taylor in, and then they can play through the lines, and Maeda can then make that sort of late run off the side and maybe get a ball through for Taylor or that. I would like to see him knocking the ball by a defender a bit more, but for me, because he is left, I think he's predominantly left-footed. I don't think he's got a right foot at all.
I'm not hearing that left foot argument.
No,
I don't.
He scored
that Wonder goal. He scored against Hibs. He scored against Hibs, but that was
Rangers as well. In the 2 each game against Rangers, he came in and slotted it by with his right foot. I'm pretty sure his debut was a right foot goal. Every other goal I've seen is like coming off his feet, and it's nipping in. I don't see it.
So, but I don't get your argument though. I mean, I think Maeda, for me, as I said, he's a one-dimensional player. We know what we're getting.
Brilliant on the left. I'm not saying that we shouldn't play him on the left. I am asking the question why he's the number one left winger when I think he can do everything that he does on the left on the right. And I agree with that as well. You're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should take Maeda out of the left. I think he should. I think he's your number one left winger. But what I'm saying is, and I think a few of the comments there were right, to be fair. And I said that before I gave the argument, was I think he works well with Taylor, but the triangles with him, Taylor and Hatate, I agree with that. But Hatate pops up on the right in that as well. So, I mean, I'm just saying, everything that Maeda does on the left, I think he can do on the right. So I don't see why he's always a predominant left winger. That's all I'm saying. Maeda's our first choice in the left wing, a country mile for me, and Jota the first on the right. But I just with that Haksabanovic one yesterday, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, you know what, Ross is maybe right. He could have played in the left, and Maeda could have went in the right.
They did switch a few times during the game, I noticed. I mean, they do interchange with each other, and I think for me, I get what you mean, Willie, but I think for me, I don't know, Maeda's just never impressed me on the right hand side. That's just one of them things, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. But I totally agree. But I don't see why that's the case.
I know. I agree. I don't see why either. But what I've seen him, like watching games, I don't think he brings as much on that side. I don't probably think Ange could put his finger on why. But I think it's evident that he doesn't. And that's why he obviously plays more on the left. But I think
I'm just watching. I'll go back next week.
Aye, probably. But I go back to it. I don't think you can make a swift judgment on Haksabanovic off the back of yesterday playing in the right when he's absolutely, that's not his position for me.
No, I totally agree. I think he will come good. It's just do you know what I mean? It's just again one of them games. Let's hope the third or fourth time he starts that he plays better. And to come to the comments. Stevie boy, the manager has us guessing. Loving your work. Big Ans, David Logan's interesting how he's first choice striker for the middle for Japan. John Jota's in. All right, troops. Good to have you on. Abada and Jota should be starting. Hacksaw has done nothing but score a couple of eye-pleasing goals. Big red. Bangy angry Mark right out of the market. No idea. But I should read that before I bring it up, shouldn't I? But see to be fair, I'll throw a couple. I know we're 1 hour 27 minutes in. It's Monday night. Usually this happens on a Friday. I don't know what people's moods are like, but we'll have another at least 15 minutes of discussion. I'll try and be as quick as I can. I'll throw a couple at you here, Willie. Rocco Vada and O. What was your opinions of them? I mean, O got a 45-minute chunk of the game. Klinsmann was in the stadium, and I think the BBC reporter referred to Ans as a pie man, and Klinsmann wasn't. Absolute shocking comment, by the way. Unbelievable. But what was your opinion on O, first of all, and then Fada, who played a wonderful ball in, and I think he should have scored it, in my opinion. Can you see a big future for Rocco Vada at the club too?
It's hard to tell. For what I've seen, he's looked very good, but I mean, there's so much quality at the club. It's difficult to see him pushing through at this moment in time. Anyway, his ball-in was fabulous. Oh, should have buried it. I don't know with O yet. We kind of talked about it on Friday, and I think he does. He's got He's got loads of good qualities. I think his strength's great. He throws his weight about. He's great at using his body, but he's just not shown that he's clinical enough for me. And it's difficult. I say it all the time. When you're only getting 15, 20 minutes, it's so difficult to show. But I mean, Giakoumakis was coming on with 20 minutes and banging goals in for fun. He was so clinical. He's a young boy. He's got a long way to go. I'm really, really excited for what I've seen. But that's a great point. I think because Klinsmann was in the crowd that he was. He should have buried that. He threw his Celtic one that he possibly could have got in on and scored as well. But I just feel like, for what I've seen, with the quality that's around him, I never say he's terrible. Just said he's not clinical enough. I just think with the quality around him, he should be scoring more goals. But I mean the work that he does and how he uses his body is really clever. And I don't know if it's a run of games he needs, or I'm not sure. But I'm not absolutely blown away by what he's done so far. I mean, his turn at Dundee United when he won the penalty that's brilliant. I want to see more of that from him. If I could have one criticism, I just think he needs to score more goals.
I totally agree with you. I think Klinsmann said it in the pre-match in Sky, saying that he's a real talent within the South Korean national team, and he was down at Spurs watching Son play. And imagine the culture shock, Ross, coming up to Kilmarnock to watch the plastic pitch and half-empty stadium and Celtic running red and Celtic fans going crazy. But in terms of O, and again I'll throw Vada into the discussion because he nearly assisted him with a goal. Do you think it was a case he was trying too hard? Because I don't know what it was. It was quite strange for me that Postecoglou took Kyogo off at half-time. Usually it's around 60, 70 minutes. But who knows, maybe it was because they had a wee deal with Klinsmann to give O a couple of minutes and see what he's like for the South Korean team. And then Rocco Vada. What's your opinion on him? And obviously Ben Summers came in, but he was only a wee cameo. But good to see the young players coming through the Celtic system again, which I love to see personally. But first of all, like what Willie said, I thought this game was probably his quote-unquote worst game for us in a Celtic shirt. He didn't really do much, and I think that was more to do with what Derek McInnes told the Kilmarnock players to do the second half: be ugly, be dirty, get the ball up the pitch, be physical, get in around them, which they done, by the way. They kind of nullified us that second half, and I think, to be fair, we died off. We knew the game was won. And then Rocco Vada, a young Irish talent, his dad played for Celtic, so good signs from him. And then what's your opinion on O?
Well, I expected O to come on at half-time because the game was done. It was 4-1. And obviously Klinsmann was there. But I think even if Klinsmann wasn't there, I would have still brought O on at half-time because we've got this semi-final on the horizon, as we're all aware. Yeah. And it gives the guy minutes. In terms of, I get what you're saying. I hate, and you can't help it. You really can't help it. But I hate comparing this young guy to Giakoumakis.
4 goals and 4 starts, by the way. 4 goals and 4 starts for Giakoumakis.
Aye, but he's playing in public.
Aye, but listen, it's you can't help but do it. Of course, I've probably done it myself, but I don't like it. It's no fair. The guy's 21. He's coming from a completely different culture. And I mean, imagine being 21 and moving here yourself somewhere else, or us moving from here to South Korea. It would be a huge thing to do. But I think he's had substitute appearances. I think he's affected the game in terms of his physicality. He's got 1 or 2 big goals. I've liked what I've seen for him. I think he's busy. I think he occupies defenders. He's a bit different for Kyogo in the sense his strength and being a sort of nuisance at set pieces and stuff like that more than what Kyogo does. But then at the same time, I think I'm going to do it. He's more mobile than Giakoumakis.
Oh, he is. He is.
But he's I think that he's got that similarity in terms of the way we want to play and press the ball better than what a Giakoumakis does. I can't believe they've done it again, but I think
it's okay, Ross. It's okay.
I know, but I don't agree with you in the sense that he needs to get more goals. I think he's 21. He's never. I said it on Friday night. Giakoumakis for me is one of the best finishers, if not the best finisher since Henrik Larsson has been at the club. And I think it's tough for to say needs to get more goals right now because he hasn't getting enough minutes. He's 21. He's moved to a new country. He needs time. Like Kobayashi, he needs time. Kobayashi's coming in. He's obviously not getting as many sub appearances as because you don't tend to sub off your centre halves like you do with your players up the sort of top end of the pitch. But similar, Kobayashi's getting more leeway because he's not coming on and we're not seeing him as much. When he is coming on, he's doing all right. I think was similar. I think he's coming on and he's doing all right. I don't expect him to be pulling trees up and banging in hat-tricks now. And I know you're not saying that, but I think the guy needs time. And I think you probably see the best day probably next season when he gets a full pre-season under his belt and he just obviously gets more in tune with the way we are playing and the ideas that Ange is putting to him. It needs time to learn this system and what's expected of him. And I think I'm quite happy with what he's doing right now.
I think
I totally agree.
I think where Ross alluded to it there, I think the biggest thing for me is he's a total different entity to Kyogo. So on the rare occasion that Kyogo's not working, you can bring him on, and it's the two centre halves are having to deal with a totally different animal than what they're having to deal with strength and body weight and putting yourself in right positions rather than in the back. So it's a great option to have, and that fact that it's not a similar player you're bringing on. He's totally different.
That's a great comment. Great comment by Michael McDonald there. We all know that Ange Postecoglou, he's ruthless, and in his transfers he won't hang around. Peter McClone did a couple of comments. Ross, you're correct with pre-season. I think we all kind of agree with that sentiment. I do want to comment what David Lowe said, just to kind of round it off. I've got the comments here. Basically, I think O gets in a position to take the ball with back to goal, and ball goes out wide, and maybe he needs to adjust that style of play, I guess. He doesn't do the runs like Kyogo, that our players expect from Kyogo, 100%. And I think that's what we got with Jack and Magnus. And we've seen Mark Nugent come in there. It took him basically 6 months to finally adjust, and Kyogo getting that injury to take his game to the new level with Celtic. And I know we're all kind of MLS, the public and all that, but he's over there. He's kind of continued that form of 4 goals in 4 games for Atlanta. I seen his header the other night. It was an absolute cracker from a corner kick. But I think what O gives us is, as you said, Willie, a different dimension, different dynamic. And if he can hold that ball up like that and feed players coming in the wide areas, give a Tate the ball, spin him behind, and he's got speed to burn. By the way, he's a really quick player, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. And I think with Klinsmann, he wouldn't waste the journey coming up to Scotland if he didn't have high hopes for Owen, the South Korean national team. And the likes of Vada as well. I think he'll be more involved this coming to the end of the season. Ben Summers getting a chance. So it's good to see. It's very exciting to see young talent come through Celtic again. But to kind of round it off.
Can I just say, I think Vata's ahead of my head on the right.
but just to round it off, just kind of quick fire on Ross. Plastic pitches in the top league of Scottish football. It makes me ill because I remember Hamilton Ackies and used to see the Sainsbury's in the background when we were playing them, and they tried to cover it up with like a double-decker bus and put all these advertises around it, and all, and bars. And you go to Livingston, who every time I watch them on Sports Scene, they've got about 2 supporters in, and it's just empty yellow seats and a pitch, which is a disgrace as well. And then Kilmarnock, the same issue here. Do you think it's about time with the finances from Sky or from their supporters that they should be like, come on, get a grass pitch? I don't see why they can't afford to get a grass pitch. I know the whole community aspect of it, right? But if they really wanted to make the real moolah, the real money, give us the stands and get over 600 grand every time we play them. Simple maths. It just baffles me.
Listen, the plastic pitch doesn't belong at top level football. I think we can all agree on that. But I sort of do get why teams have them. Like you say, you can hire them out, you can make money off it, and then you've obviously caveated that with sell the tickets to us instead of having empty stadiums or 3 empty stands. But then sort of come back on that and you think, well, it's difficult enough for teams like Kilmarnock and that as it is coming up against Celtic. I mean, they didn't have that many fans there, and we didn't. Obviously, we only had the 1 stand, but it still didn't stop us doing what we've done to them. But they're probably looking and thinking we need to give ourselves every chance, and if that's doing that on the pitch, then that's their prerogative. Much like it's their prerogative because there's no law against the plastic pitch. And I think people moan about it, and we moaned about it more when Celtic were going to Livingston and not picking up result after result after result. But Ange has sort of put this plastic pitch, I don't want to say myth, but he's put it to bed. We've won pretty much.
Yeah.
Every time we've played on one, bar that. I think the last time was obviously when we lost 1-0 to Livy. That's it.
We should offer the pay.
Listen, it's no something I get too overly fussed about. I get why teams do it. doesn't belong at the top level, but nobody says they can't do it. So I've not got a massive gripe with them doing it because it's not against the rules, and until it is, they can sort of do what they want.
I think it's as well. It does look bad in my opinion. So I mean, the whole aspect of the Scottish Football League, we try and promote it, Willie. We try and give it everything we can. Try and talk about it like we do every week. And you're going to like literally a university ground with stands on it. Do you know what I mean? That's what it looks like. And it's, I mean, Ross brought up a point there about the community aspect, but I would say the funds from a Hearts, a Celtic, or a Rangers going to them as a film out their stadium would be far outweighing what they would get from a couple of five-a-sides every week on it. And you look at Steve Clark, you bring your mind back, and he was like, bye-bye Celtic, bye-bye Rangers. I mean, Jesus Christ, Kilmarnock's more than that, the words there. Like, just empty stands everywhere, over 10,000 seats. Sky Sports are filming this, and it's like, fuck me. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you, mate. I don't think he said bye-bye Celtic, by the way. I think it was just bye-bye Rangers, but...
he said bye-bye Celtic too.
No, he said bye-bye Rangers and then realised, oh shit, because he's like a renowned Celtic fan, and then he did bye Celtic as well.
I'm in total agreement with Ross, to be honest with you, which is not anything new, although we have disagreed. We've disagreed a lot tonight, but I think that personally people get up in arms about it too much. I'm actually a bit sad that Tony's connection went, because I think he's pretty passionate about it too. Mm-hmm. Do I agree it shouldn't be happening in the top leagues? Yes, probably. But it shouldn't matter. Like the players we've got should be more more than good enough and more professional enough to be playing on that slick park. And see, to be honest with you, would you rather play on that if you were a football? Would you rather be playing on that pitch, or would you play on what Hampden looked like a month ago, or what Motherwell looks like?
We can't say anything. Our pitch has been fucking shocking for the best part of a year.
Motherwell have been thingy for it in the past as well, where it's just a big mud pitch. I'd rather the boys were playing on a slick pitch than that. But in saying that, I agree it shouldn't be happening in the top league, but it doesn't bother me much, to be honest with you. I understand why clubs do it. Livy in the cup didn't have VAR because they had to fucking. This happens every week, by the way. I hate to put that.
Play the Endless Celts tune.
I play it now.
The intro. I'm always waiting for you when it comes on, just to be sitting with the guitar.
Maybe one of the Friday nights I'll do Jot on the wing. Aye, for me it's not as big an issue. I can understand why people get upset about it. I totally understand. I just don't. Aye, that's what I was talking about, Brian. I mean, in the past it's been a fucking mud hole.
The San Siro.
Oh yeah. Fucking where was I now? You stop bringing up the comments. I think
Sorry, man. They're us getting involved. It's good crack. But you're all about the pitch. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I'm just not as fussed. I totally understand why clubs are doing it. I mean, Livy in the cup didn't have VAR because they had to pay for it. I mean, the finances on there is hanging the rest of us. See, with regards to the whole, just hanging out your stadium to the opposing fans, just sell it to three stands. I see it. Like, obviously, I want it. Like, I love it. And even then, we only had one stand. It sounded like a home game yesterday. But one, like, it's hard enough to go to Parkhead and get a result with that fan base on top of you. Never mind going to a home game and having the fucking same amount of fan base on top of you. This is getting out of control. So for me, I wouldn't be one. If I was a Killie or a fucking Livy or that, I wouldn't be wanting to give Celtic even more of an edge than they've already got by letting them have 3/4 of the fan base of the whole stadium in there.
But whether you could counter that by saying, but you can counter that the piss and moan every season about their funds. If they maximise their capacity for them 4 games, that's over $1 million and a half quid. That brings their level of finance to another, and literally from zero to 1.5, and plus
I
if
hear
they bring
you.
in merchandise and kits and that.
Hear you. I'd rather hear the 3 points.
Oh, 100%. Have 3 points for Celtic every day of the week. It'll be a home stadium when we're there, as you said. Every ground we go to, maybe bar Tynecastle and Tesco, it's basically a home
But I
ground.
mean, that's no fit. Like they talk about the whole argument about the allocation for the derby games. It's the exact same. We talk about we want opposing fans in there. I just think that if it's a home game every a home game, it's like a home game every week for us. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just no right. It doesn't sit right with me in football. It should be. But again, that's down to the clubs. They should be doing better and getting their own fans in the stadium. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah. But again, a great podcast, and I want to make everyone aware who's watching. I'm going to watch on catch up as well on YouTube over the coming days. We are fast approaching our 200th regular podcast episode on Friday night. I don't quite know what's happening, but I'm trying to plan something in my head, depending on who's available and things like that. But please get involved with it. We'll be live at 8 o'clock, the usual time slot for us, and it'll be good crack. It'll be more of these, more beers, more of the wee cheap beers from Tesco, by the way, $3.80 for 12 of them. Unbelievable. But get involved with it. Do you know what I mean?
Keep living that pelters for no shelling out. And you're buying £2 beers.
Listen, I've got it covered, man. I've got 3G out the back. It's all good. I've got a couple of people tomorrow coming around to use it.
You need to
give. Tony was needing 4G tonight. Sorry. We're on it, kid.
Oh, unbelievable. But I tell you what, 200th episode on Friday, get involved with it. I know we've ran nearly 2 hours tonight, but I haven't been on in a week, and I like talking. But if you've enjoyed it, William and Ross?
Absolutely, mate.
Brilliant, mate. Disappointed Tony left us, obviously, but because he was hosting, he'd planned out the show and stuff.
Stephen, fair play jumping in and taking
on. Brilliant. I was going to say, class.
No, when it's us free, it's chaos. We started the show in chaos, we'll end it in chaos. We'll end up with 50 people live, probably more home fans than Killie had, to be fair. So I'm happy with that. Stay well and keep safe. We'll see you all Friday evening for our 200th podcast. And Charlotte.
Go to Celts.